What is up? In this video, I'll be reacting to the Weasle's top 10 MMA GOATs video. I reacted to it on live stream. That's the footage that I'm going to show you guys. The GOAT conversation is my favorite conversation in MMA. So shout out to the Weasle. He did a good video on this. I think the list was pretty decent. But the GOAT combo, I take very serious. And I'm going to get into the weeds on this. But again, shout out to the Weasle. Subscribe to him. Check out his video. Watch it as a whole. But let's get into it. So I'm actually going to pull up the Weasle's GOAT list. I'm going to react to it. The first time he's ever posted like an official GOAT list. Maybe I'm wrong, but he just did a new one. So the Weasle, he's always talking about the GOAT conversation in his podcasts. Fedor Emelianenko. Fedor Emelianenko. Anyway.
Weight classes.
So
he
let's
was the
look
number
at his,
one pound-for-pound fighter in the world for
list.
many years. Longevity, performances. This is ultimately what I'm going to go by. I think that does cover everything that you need to look at of someone's legacy. And yes, I'm going to include PED users. I usually don't, but it's
all right.
seems
I
like everybody does it. So whatever. I'll include for everything that you...
Level of competition is his first criteria. I think that's great criteria. Level of competition is the most important criteria. That is the most important. Weasle yaps too much? Yeah, but you kind of have to yap with a GOAT list. I mean, my video on the GOAT stuff is like 50-minute long. All right, so we got Stipe. We got Stippy. Stipe Emelianenko. Stipe Emelianenko. And we got Fedor Emelianenko. Fedor Emelianenko. Okay, Big Nog. Kevin Randleman, son. Dude, rest in peace, Kevin Randleman. God bless Kevin Randleman. But Kevin Randleman didn't even have a great resume. That's the thing. And I talked about it in my member stream. People will look at these Pride FC fighters, the ones that had the big roided up delts, and they look like WWE wrestlers, and they had a big slam takedown KO. And they'll just say that, yeah, he was a legend. He was probably a champion 10 times over. These guys didn't have great records. Arlovski's a good win. Arlovski's a good win. But that's like, let me put this in perspective. Beating Arlovski is like beating Tyron Woodley. It's a good win. Former champion. Not even as good as beating Tyron Woodley, to be honest. But it's similar. Arlovski has a worse resume than Woodley by a little bit, but it's similar. And that's his best win outside of Big Nog and Crow Cop. So right off the bat, there's not like any top 15 all-time win. But all right, Mark Coleman, Tim Sylvia. Mark Hunt. Are we really saying Mark Hunt was a great win just because he knocks people out? Like, Hunt had lost most of his fights, bro. I don't think Fedor is top 10, but I understand. I get it. He's a great heavyweight. I just think that I think Dominic Cruz has a better resume. Kamaru Usman has a better resume. Dude, he doesn't even have Usman on his list. And DC. He doesn't have DC on the list. You know what? Islam Makhachev has a better resume than Fedor Emelianenko. Islam Makhachev has a better resume than Fedor Emelianenko. This is the thing about Fedor. Islam Makhachev has beat Dustin Poirier, Volkanovski twice, Charles Oliveira. And then you want to talk about Fedor's good wins over Kevin Randleman? Kevin Randleman is like the same thing as beating, I don't know, Drew Dober. You get what I'm saying? Dan Hooker. I think those guys arguably have a better resume than Kevin Randleman. So Makhachev beat Drew Dober, Dan Hooker, Bobby Green. Not elite fighters, but good fighters. Good fighters. They're not cans. Then he beats Charles Oliveira, sitting champion on a crazy win streak. Then he beats Dustin Poirier. He beats Volkanovski twice. And the ratio, we're talking about Khabib's ratio of wins to losses, how it's so impressive. Islam Makhachev has what? 15 wins? He's 15-1? And we're talking about Fedor Emelianenko because he beat Andrei Arlovski. But Makhachev beat a top 5 fighter in Volkanovski twice. And he beat Charles Oliveira, who's a top 25 fighter, arguably. There's no argument for Fedor being top 10. I'm sorry. It's just pure nostalgia bias. That's all it is. Islam Makhachev, since he beat Dustin Poirier, has totally cleared Fedor. Okay? He has. Am I wrong? Usman has cleared Fedor. Listen, I think Fedor's arguably top 15. I'm sorry, you can't put him top 10. And if the Weasle watches this, He agrees. You know you agree, Weasle. You know you agree with me. Straight up. I'm not wrong. This is the thing. Like, why are we not including Makhachev in the... Am I the only one that's going crazy? Makhachev has done a lot in his career. He's 15-1. He's beat... That's like, we talk about Holloway beating Aldo twice. He beat Volk twice. And he was the first guy to beat Volkanovski. And then Volk's second loss was to him as well. And he also beat Oliveira, the sitting champion. And he beat Dustin Poirier, who's someone that Khabib beat too. And we're not even putting Makhachev in the top 10. It doesn't have to be top 10, but my goodness, he's one of the GOATs. And he's definitely better than Fedor. I have him in top 10. Lucas stays up at night thinking about the GOAT list. It's just like, I just don't understand it. You're telling me Fedor's resume is better than Makhachev's? Big Nog? Replace this with Volk twice. Replace Mirko with Charles Oliveira. Replace Kevin Randleman with Drew Dober. Replace Andrei Arlovsky with Charles Oliveira. Come on. Replace Coleman with Dustin Poirier. Come on. It's not even a fucking competition. And Fedor lost in his mid-30s as a heavyweight. When you're in your mid-30s, you're not done. He lost in his mid-30s 3 times in a row by KO. Makhachev's lost once when he was a rookie. Losing once when you're a rookie is worse than getting KO'd 3 times in your mid-30s as a heavyweight. That's it. We'll get on from there. Islam is the GOAT in 1.5. He's very well capable of becoming the... 3 more wins. If he beats Arman, which is necessary. I don't want to see him move up right now. If he beats Arman, he would be passing Khabib with title defenses in the modern era. You know how hard it is to pass people with title defenses in the modern era, especially in the lightweight division? He passes Khabib, 4 title wins, and then he moves up. He beats Leon Edwards and Shavkat. If he gets 2 title wins in a second weight class and defends, he's the GOAT of the sport. He would have Volkanovski, who's a top 10 all-time fighter. He would have Leon Edwards, who's... If Leon wins again, if Leon beats Bilal, he's top 20 all-time. Right? And he beat Usman twice. If Leon beats Bilal, he's arguably top 15. If he beats Leon, that's another top 15 all-time fighter. And he beats Shavkat, that's an insanely good win. He beats Arman, that's an insanely good title defense. Makhachev is a... How are we not talking about Makhachev as a top 10 all-time fighter right now, is my question. But he's got Fedor at the 9 spot. That's probably going to be the worst thing on his list. Silva, top 10. All right. I actually don't mind Silva top 10. Like, I don't mind it. But DC Usman are not on the list, though. That's why it's kind of crazy. But either way, Anderson Silva at the number 8 spot. I have Anderson in my top 10 still, so that's fine. Dan Henderson, good win. Vitor Belfort, good win. Forrest Griffin, okay, at the time it was a good win. Rich Franklin, Nate Marquardt, Chael Sonnen, and Damian Maia. Yeah, and he had... the thing about Anderson Silva that was the most impressive is the fact that he was dominant and the fact that nobody beat him when he was in his prime. That's a good flex. If you're getting beat in your prime, that's not the best look. It's like Whitaker. Whitaker losing in his prime to Adesanya is... You can't say Whitaker was the best middleweight overall. You can't say Whitaker cleared when he was in his prime. He was the guy, because there was also other people that were doing really good work. That wasn't the case when Anderson Silva was fighting. Holloway at 7. Whoa, wait a second. Wait a second. Woohoo! The Weasle coming through with a hardcore take. That's a hardcore take right there. That's a hardcore take. You know what? I wonder if this is in any way influenced by the past year of my GOAT conversations, talking about how it's not just title wins, it's also just like who have you beat, the amount of people you've beat. You know what I mean? This is actually a hardcore take. The Weasle put Max Holloway at 7 all time. I have Holloway in my top 10. And I have Holloway at basically the same spot. I got him at the same spot. Justin Gaethje, Jose Aldo twice. Jose Aldo is a top 10 fighter, so you got that. Those are insane wins. Frankie Edgar. That's it. The thing is, even though Frankie Edgar wasn't in his prime, Frankie Edgar that fought Max, he was old. He was 38, but he was very good still. But he was a little older. Brian Ortega. Listen, I think that the Ortega win is pretty good. Arnold Allen, Korean Zombie, Calvin Kattar, Ricardo Lamas, Cub Swanson, Anthony Pettis. Yeah, he's got a ton of good wins. Yair Rodriguez. He didn't include Yair. He forgot Yair, but he's got Yair on there too. Another good win. We need to get Fedor out of there, man. I mean, I agree. I think that he's using nostalgia bias with Fedor Emelianenko. I don't think that Fedor is better than most people. Look at his pinned comment. Okay, let me check it out. He said, I would include Cormier and Izzy if we didn't have PED users. Are you kidding me? Dude. Bro, Alex Pereira's resume already clears. What about Pereira? What about Dominic Cruz? Come on, man. Come on, bro. Like, yo, whoa. Come on, bro. Come on, bro. When is Shamil the Big Seal Ghaziev's next fight? On the Abu Dhabi card. Next August. First fight night of August. I'm looking forward to it. Thank you for the $5. Anyway, let's continue the list. Izzy is not top 10, dude. I'm sorry. Not even if you discard the PED users. You know what? I will say this. If you discard the PED users, then maybe he's top 15. But that's like 3 people that you got to get out of the top 15. Number 6, yeah. There we go. Yeah. Top 6 is Volk. You know what? I'm not even that upset. Like, I think Volkanovski is arguably the second best fighter ever. I think Volk is arguably number 2, number 3 all time. That's a different convo for a different day. But I do like how he's not 7. 6 is so much better than 7. If Volk was at 7, that would be way too many people ahead of him. I am a little bit worried now that I think about it. Who is ahead of Volk? I know he's going to put Aldo ahead of Volk. This might mean that Khabib is ahead of Volk, though. And if that means that Khabib is ahead of Volk, what I'm going to say right now is, why? Okay, Holloway 3 times. Beating Max Holloway once is better than Dustin Poirier. Beating Max Holloway twice is better than Justin Gaethje. And beating him the 3rd time is better than Conor McGregor. So now we have to compare RDA to Brian Ortega, Yair Rodriguez, and Jose Aldo. Jose Aldo clears RDA. Okay. What's Khabib's next best win? Is it better than Chad Mendes? Is Michael Johnson better than Mendes? No. Ally Quinta better than Ortega? No. Come on. Volkanovski is a better resume. And he lost when it was statistically permissible to lose. Right? But it's good that he has him in the top 6. Anything lower, I'd have to rant. But it's, the Weasle, this is a hardcore take. I think a real hardcore take would be top 5. But this is a good take. This is a good take.
The first fight was an obvious win for Volk, although it was kind of competitive. The second fight, he nearly lost. He had to...
Dude, I watched the second fight back. Watched the 3rd round, 4th and 5th in Volkanovski versus Max Holloway 2. Some people are going to discard this and they'll just say, no, keep coping. No. They'll say, robbery. Watch the last 3 rounds of Volkanovski and Max Holloway 2. They're not that controversial. The 3rd round is clear. Competitive early. Volk easily wins the last minute and a half of that round and outpoints Max Holloway throughout the whole round if you add in what he did at the end. He lost the 2nd. I'm talking about the 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Volk clearly won those rounds. It's a good win for Volk.
Resort to wrestling in order to turn the tides of that fight. Then in the 3rd one, Volk showed...
He didn't even need to resort to wrestling in order to change the tide. He outstruck Max Holloway. Volk got Max down and kept him down for a second at max every single time. No pun intended. It was the striking. He outstruck him in the last 3 rounds. You're the losses matter guy, don't forget. Very true. And that's why, yes, losing to Ilia Topuria matters. Losing to Ilia matters. But Volkanovski, his wins are so good, and his losses, one of them is so acceptable that it's not even that bad of a look. His real losses are to Makhachev the 1st time, and they're to Ilia the 1st time. Those are bad, but I still think he's done more than Khabib. It's not just about doing more. I think overall ratio, obviously Khabib has the best ratio, but I think that Volkanovski's strength of wins and dominance, having only lost 7 rounds in his entire career, puts him past Khabib. Khabib's claim is ratio dominance. Volkanovski had dominance and insane wins and good ratio. I don't think it's all ratio. I think when you add them all together, Volk is better than Khabib. Who's at number 5? Khabib, of course. Ally Quinta, Gleason Tibau. Dude, Gleason Tibau is not a good win because Khabib hardly beat him. There was an argument that he lost. Either way, are we really going to rate a Gleason Tibau win? Listen, again, Khabib's thing is undefeated. I think that a lot of people these days underrate Khabib's resume. He was undefeated, never lost. That's very good. Volk is higher than Khabib because Volk's ratio of wins to losses is still excellent. His dominance, up there with Khabib, 7 rounds lost in his whole career. And his best wins are so much better than Khabib's best wins. Poirier is the best win Khabib has. It's not as good as beating Aldo, I'm sorry. Aldo was 32 when Volk beat him. Usman literally had a corrupt pharmacist dad. Thank you for the $2. Yeah. I don't know what that has to do with the GOAT list, but unless you're calling him out for PEDs. Listen, I think Khabib's top 10. There's no doubt about it. I think Khabib's top 10, but I think I have Volk higher. Aldo, I'm sorry. I know the Weasle loves Jose Aldo. I know that Aldo is one of the GOATs. I know that he's top 10. He is not higher than Volk. It's just, you can't put him higher than Volk. I'm sorry. Aldo lost to Max Holloway the first time. How old was Holloway when he lost to Holloway the first time, guys? How old was Holloway when he lost the first time to Aldo? Who was coming off of a win, by the way. Aldo was coming off of a TKO win, or a win over Edgar. How old was he? Someone remind me, because I know. I'm just seeing if you guys know. 31. Aldo was 31 years old when he lost to Holloway the first time. 31 when he lost the second time, or 32 when he lost the second time. 33 when he lost to Volk. 2 years away from the magical 35 age that everyone talks about. He lost to Holloway at the age of 31 when he was coming off of a win. Wasn't the fight after Conor McGregor. It was a fight after the fight after Conor McGregor. He lost to Volkanovski coming off of a 2-fight TKO streak against Jeremy Stephens and Renato Moicano. If you're losing to the other contenders in GOAT conversation, I'm sorry, it's a tough argument to put him ahead of both of them, especially when one of them beat you. Volkanovski beat him, but he also beat Max 3 times, and Max beat Aldo twice. So Max consumes Aldo a little bit when he beats him twice, and that's really good for his resume. And Volk consumes Max when he beats him and consumes his resume. It's not just about who you beat. I understand that, for example, like Holloway lost to some random back in the day. Just because that guy beat Max doesn't give him the resume. I understand you have to look at other things that they've done in their career, but I just can't have Aldo ahead. Now, I understand this is not even the featherweight GOAT conversation. Aldo is a bunch of good bantamweight wins, a bunch of good ones, but that's not necessarily enough. This isn't a terrible list. This is actually a decent list. I actually think this is a decent list. The only thing that I have a problem with is Fedor being top 10. I don't think Fedor is top 10. I think Khabib's top 10. I think Aldo is top 10. I just have an issue with the placements, but at least they're all close to each other. Like, at least Aldo and Volk are 2 spots apart. But I think the argument for Aldo above Volk is weak, and I think most of you would agree with that. I think that I make sense. I'm not just saying it because I'm biased. I think I can make a good argument for it. It's not just that he lost at a young age. It's that he lost to people that also became really good. Like Holloway built his own resume and beat Aldo. Volk built his own resume and beat Aldo. It's very rare that you have the GOAT of a division fight the next generation's GOATs when he's in his prime. You know, like we don't see Anderson Silva fighting Adesanya in their prime, right? We don't see Khabib fighting, I don't know, Benson Henderson in his prime. You get my point.
And that he beat prime Chad Mendes, prime Frankie Edgar twice, prime Uriah Faber.
Those are good wins. Those are great wins.
Prime Mike Brown, snapping Mike Brown's 10 wins.
Mike Brown, dude. Listen, at the time it was a good win. If he was on a 10-fight win streak, that's a good win.
Streak, winning the WEC world champion against him, and even beat fighters like Cub Swanson, knocking him out in 8 seconds with a double flying knee, Korean Zombie, Ricardo Lamas, Renato Moicano, Jeremy Stephens.
No way! Dude, I just recognized this. Manny Gamburian? You know you're freaking grasping at straws when you're putting Manny Gamburian on your good wins list. Has anyone... Dude, I'm not even going to pretend like I even know who that guy is. I'm not even going to pretend that I know who that is. You can call me a casual. I don't know who the fuck Manny Gamburian is, dude. I know everyone else. I don't know Manny. I started watching 2017. Like, I don't know who the fuck that is, dude. Casual, man. He was a monster, bruh. That's the GOAT, man. Manny Gamburian has a 15-10 record. Dude, how is that a good win? I guess maybe that was like the Dan Hooker of 2008. That's like the Dan Hooker, the Bobby Green of 2008. Maybe it was a good win at the time, but still, like, has it aged well? I swear that's literally a NPC created fighter.
Even going down to the bantamweight division and beating Chito.
The bantamweight division is what saved Aldo's GOAT status. The bantamweight division, Aldo was falling off a bit. Yeah, he lost to Jan, but I actually think he beat Marlon Moraes. I think that was a robbery. And he beat Rob Font. He beat Pedro Munoz. Pedro's not a great fighter, but he's a tough out. Got to give him respect. Aldo was moving down into a tough weight class, an even tougher weight class. And he also beat Marlon Vera. And beat Martinez. Dude, what's shocking to me is that he doesn't even have Jonathan Martinez on the list of good wins. You could get rid of Kenny Florian and Manny Gamber and put Jonathan Martinez in there.
Pedro Munoz, Rob Font, and arguably should have won the fight against Marlon Moraes, who at the time was the scariest bantamweight in the world. UFC, if you count one.
Mighty Mouse, okay.
One championship, then he has 14 title wins.
I think that Mighty Mouse is overrated, guys. It doesn't mean Mighty Mouse isn't one of the best ever. Doesn't mean he's not top 5. His ratio of wins to losses is insane. He's only lost twice. Actually, he's lost 4 times. He lost to a nobody, lost to Dominic Cruz, lost to Henry Cejudo, and lost to someone in 1FC. But he has 6 wins for every loss. So Mighty Mouse is good.